Hi, good day everyone. Greetings from Asia Pacific University of Technology and Innovation. My name is Yvette, and on behalf of the organizing committee, I'd like to welcome all of you to the 4th Global Conference on Computing and Media Technology, GCMT 2020. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. In previous editions of GCMT, you would have had to travel long distances from wherever you are in the world. But unfortunately, this year, no thanks to COVID-19, of course, all the traveling you get to do is to wherever you place your laptops. So today, wherever you are, in your homes, in your offices, we are not here to judge you. We are just really happy that you're here joining us today. So leave a comment, share, ask a question in the comment box whenever you feel like it. We will love you for it. Now, GCMT 2020 is a global forum for researchers and practitioners to present and discuss their most recent innovations, trends, results, experiences, and concerns in several perspectives that cover but are not limited to the current areas of importance, such as artificial intelligence, data science, Internet of Things, and blockchain. This year, we have also included research in line with the COVID-19 pandemic. More than 225 papers were submitted to GCMT this year, compared to the 180 papers from last year. This is a very positive response, I might say, and maybe, just maybe, it's got something to do with the lockdown, and we have had a lot of free time to do all of these papers. So they do say that there is a silver lining to every cloud, and perhaps this is COVID-19's silver lining. So to kick things off, allow me to invite Professor Dr. Engineer Technologist Vinesh Tiruchelvam, Deputy Vice-chancellor and Chief Innovation Officer at Asia Pacific University of Technology and Innovation, to say a few words of welcome.
Right, thank you, Dr. Yvette, and it's a great pleasure. Good afternoon and welcome to GCMT 2020. virtually. Uh, this is Asia Pacific's University's fourth global conference on computing and media technology. And we've come through year in, year out very successfully. But this year's conference is a bit unique, as mentioned by Dr. Yvette. In the wake of COVID-19, it actually took us about 3 months to sort of decide, plan, and strategize the transformation from a face-to-face standard and annual conference into an e-conference. And I think I have to thank the steering committee for the adoption of the digital presentation of this conference, and also the adaptation to the rapid changes that were happening on campus for the university in terms of moving from face-to-face to a virtual conference. And this is only solely possible through the leadership of one of my colleagues, Mr. Daniel Margo, who basically, together with our collaborative research team members from James Moore University in Liverpool, UK, and Kumaraguru College in India, and also our fellow research members in APU, especially also the School of Design. Yeah, with this small team in place, we managed to pull it off this year as an e-conference. Now, having said that, we just had our engineering conference last month, and it was the first specific engineering conference to go on a virtual platform for the first time this year in Malaysia. Likewise, if I take computing as a specific cluster, this conference is the first to go virtual this year as well. So two first conferences this year for APU, and we're very proud of the team that brought this together for us. Now, it is not easy to organize a conference year in, year out, and what we have done every year is successfully ensure that we have put the correct mediums, the correct collaboration and engagement with the publishers in order to see the conference to an outcome which is satisfactory for all participants. So this year's GCMT has a unique theme. Yeah, as a university, we are moving towards IR 4.0. We have adopted the needs to implement IR 4.0, not only from a perspective of curriculum content for all the programs that we offer, but also from a perspective of infrastructure and the methods of education delivery. And to further showcase the expertise that we have in IR 4.0, I've personally gone through all 308 papers received to date for the conference, and it really sort of synchronizes and jives to the topic of concern, which is IR 4.0. Another positive note for this conference, I've also been told that we have participation from 11 countries. So I'd like to name them. We have participants from Indonesia and Philippines, our fellow comrades from the Southeast Asia region. We have also participation from Algeria, Brazil, Spain, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, India, Vietnam, and the UK itself. So this has been a very joyful acknowledgement of 11 countries participating in GCMT 2020 for this year. This year as well, we have a very distinguished keynote speaker who, like years before, we had local prominent professionals and academicians who were keynote speakers. This time, for the first time, we have an international keynote speaker who is a very prominent individual and academician in the world of electronics and communications engineering. So I want to do an early welcome, and I want to show my gratitude and appreciation to Professor Dr. Tule Yildiz from the Department of Electronics and Communications Engineering, of Yildiz Technical University in Turkey. Yeah, I think her topic, which surrounds Society 5.0, is very interesting because as we embark and try to fulfill the requirements of 4.0, society has a mindset of 5.0. So are we lagging? Are we not up to the pace of the mindset that we have? I think her insights on this topic will be definitely interesting. So it's an honor to have her and to be part of GCMT 2020. So lastly, I'd like to share my final thank you to the organizing committee for today's event, all the participants who have contributed papers for GCMT 2020, and we look forward to all your recordings being hosted and a further acknowledgement for the year in terms of the outcome when all our papers get published in 2020 itself. Yeah, so let us enjoy the conference today, and we look forward to a better relationship between all participants for the coming 2021 as well. Yeah, so thank you, and I would like to pass over to our MC and our Dr. Yvette. Yeah, over back to you, Dr. Yvette.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Vinesh. And I do agree with you saying that our keynote session today, we have a very, very prominent speaker. And for today, we have Professor Dr. Tule Yildiz. Professor Tule received her Bachelor's of Science and Master's degree in Electronics and Communications Engineering from Yildiz Technical University, Istanbul, Turkey, and her PhD in Electrical and Electronics Engineering from the University of Liverpool, UK in 1997. She's currently a full professor with the Department of Electronics and Communications Engineering at Yildiz Technical University, and she has also authored over 200 publications in journals, conferences, and books. Her research interests include artificial intelligence, intelligent systems, cyber-physical systems, biomedical instrumentation, biometric person identification and verification systems, as well as artificial neural networks. She has been on the organizing, advisory, and evaluation boards of many scientific events in her field, and she also manages the cybersecurity and biometric research consultancy and test center located within Yildiz Technical University. Today, she will be speaking on Society 5.0, Cyber-Physical Systems and Healthcare, pretty much the theme of GCMT. Please let me invite Professor Dr. Tule Yildiz.
Hello. Hello, good afternoon,
Very
everyone.
nice to have you here,
It's really nice to be here and attending to the very good event. It's really the global conference. So I'm very happy to be attending this very nice event. Thank you very much for all your organizations. Thanks for you, Ed. And today I just want to talk to you about some new concepts about the Society 5.0, cyber-physical systems, and also the reflections on the healthcare systems. Let me just, share my screen first. Okay, right. Society 5.0, is everyone can hear me easily? No problem, without any problem. I think no problem. Good. I shared my screen. Okay, it's coming up. Society 5.0 and cyber-physical systems are very important concepts in our lives recently. The thing is, especially with the COVID-19 pandemic, we understood that we have to digitalize many of the things. So it's just in this end, we can understand what kind of change has to be in our life. So in the outline of my talk, I would like to give some information about the intelligent technologies and also the digital transformation. Society 5.0 and the Industry 4.0 is important. So I want to just share some information about that. Okay. Right. Okay. Again, I will go for full screen. Just a second, please. Right. Okay. In my talk, I will not only talk to you about the cyber-physical systems, I will also mention about the subcomponents of these systems, such as big data and artificial intelligence, and the reflections of the digital transformation on healthcare. Then I will give you some applications from the real world, and with the future remarks, I want to conclude my talk. So let's start with from the intelligent technologies. What we ask for the future life, we all want some smart cities and smart home systems. And recently, there are many works on autonomous vehicles, smart roads, intelligent transportations, intelligent agriculture, e-commerce, e-health, telemedicine. These kind of things are very important, intelligent technologies in our life. What we see lots of virtual assistants. For example, especially during this pandemic time, we have seen that we don't want to go to hospital for the basic things to ask to doctors. What we want is to ask a doctor from the distance. So you can use virtual assistants and give some information about your symptoms, and then using the mobile applications or web browser, what will happen? The people will understand, what kind of disease you can have. Sometimes there are real doctors, healthcarers in the other side of the mobile applications, but sometimes it's all autonomous. It decides itself. So what else we see? We see some digital cameras. It's very easy to zoom in, and it's very easy to, make it, the good resolutions are these kind of things. And another important technological devices are the unmanned vehicles and autonomous cars, and many companies are working on developing these sort of vehicles. So smartphone applications and smart.
So sorry to interrupt you like this, but could you please go full screen, because we are not able to see what you're sharing. Thank you so much.
Actually, I am in full screen, but let me.
Let my colleague.
I am on full screen, but I don't know why you cannot see full screen. I'm on full screen.
Okay, we'll carry on with your keynote. Carry on, please.
It's full screen. I see it in full screen now, but I don't know why it's not coming up in full screen.
Professor, perhaps you can put your PowerPoint to full screen, please.
It is full screen. On my computer, it's full screen.
Okay. All right, then never mind. It's okay.
On my computer, it's full screen, but I don't know why. Let me just check. Is there anything? I don't know why, because I'm again.
It's okay then. I'm sure all of us can still zoom in and see. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry about it, but it's full screen on my computer.
Okay.
Let me try this. Let me check just a little. Just is. I think there are two different. When you share it, something happening. No, it's full screen. I don't know why you cannot see it in full screen. Yeah, I think it's coming up. Let me see. No, sorry about, we cannot solve this problem. Sorry about that. Is it okay for me to carry on?
Yes, Professor, just carry on. It's okay.
Sorry about that. I don't know why it's not. It's just full screen. I'm
Perhaps you
trying
can
to
share your
solve the
slide
problem.
to everyone who is interested in looking at it later.
Okay, sorry. It's nothing changed.
Okay.
This is my full screen now. Maybe
All right.
because you are using our image as well. Maybe that's why. Okay.
Okay. So,
Right. We have lots of smartphone applications and smartwatches, and many of us is using this sort of applications now, especially if we are talking about the healthcare systems. We can say that it's possible to track many health data using this kind of applications and smartwatches. Sometimes using the little apparatus just connected to smartphones, you can easily track for example, your insulin dosage in your glucose level of yourself. So what else we can have? These are not these are not the new ones. We have Sony Entertainment robots, Curia and Aibo for a long time, and there is also RoboCup. Probably many people knows about the RoboCup. The idea is to develop a team of fully autonomous humanoid robots that can win against the human world soccer champion team by the year 2050. So we are in 2020, so we have only 30 years. So where we are, actually we are still very far from to developing this now. But we don't know what will happen in the next 30 years. So the important thing is how we can improve this, how we can improve these things. So let me show you some other important improvement developments. Probably many people also knows about the Boston Dynamics robots. It's the Atlas or Spot. It doesn't look like a humanoid robots, but it's very developed. The things. So what else we have? We need to understand, first of all, what is an intelligent system. So we should have a system which does whatever I want to do and which doesn't do whatever I don't want to do. So it means that we need something human-like reasoning from a system if that system is an intelligent system. So these sort of systems has to learn from the failure, just like the human being learns. So another thing is we are usually easily adapting to the environment. Just as now, what happens. That during this COVID pandemic time, we are started to digitalize everything. So, for example, this conference. At the beginning, everybody was planning to make this conference face to face. That's good. Actually, I wanted to see all of you face to face. But now we had no chance to do it. But what we do, we can easily adapt myself. And what we have done, we just carried on this event to the online media. So still we can carry on our professional activities using online events. So another thing is to make decisions about suitability of behavior. What it means that, for example, you want to earn your life. So what you do, you can work or you can steal. But which one is suitable behavior? Of course, the working. So you don't want to steal to earn your life. You shouldn't do it. So if you design an intelligent systems, this system should have this sort of the behaviors and specifications. Let's have a look at the digital transformation age and how we came to this place. The examples that I've shown you, the robots and the virtual assistants, or the smartphone applications and unmanned devices. Usually we call all of them as cyber-physical systems. What is it? These systems is the coexistence of cyber and physical processes. It means that you don't only have, the digital and physical world, the software and hardware part of a system, you also have to consider about the biological processes. So these sort of systems has some very important sub-components, such as artificial intelligence, IoT, cloud computing, machine learning, and of course, if you use cloud computing and Internet of Things, you have to think about the cyber security, and of course, we are, we have to handle with the very big data. So this takes us to the digital transformation era. We call it Industry 4.0. And then what happens, all this transformation affects our lives, and of course the society will be affected from these developments. Then we will go through from the information society to super smart society. Then we call it Society 5.0. And what will happen after? Actually, there are some, the utopic world, like, the Life 3.0 or Bio 1.0, Human 2.0. So these are just a little utopic for now, but we don't know what will happen in the future. Okay, let's have a look at the relation, or the differences of Industrial 4.0 and Society 5.0. And Industrial 4.0 is a German concept. It's first introduced in 2015, and the industry at the center of the this concept. And with the Industrial 4.0, German said that.
Hi, Professor Chule. I'm so sorry to interrupt your talk again, but we really want to see your slides and we really want to understand what you're speaking. So unfortunately, what you are sharing, I don't think it's telling with what you're speaking. So I believe you are you're not sharing the right slide. So could you please disconnect the sharing and then you reshare
Okay, that's better. Yeah. That's better. You understand? Yes.
Okay, could you please do that? Because I think it's a waste if we are not getting the full essence of your talk.
Okay. Is that okay now?
Yes. Perfect. Thank you.
Is that okay? Yes. Thank you. Fine. Thank you. Now, if everybody sees the slides, that's fine. Just sorry about that, because probably the sharing sometimes doesn't work what we ask for, what we want. But now I think we have solved the problem now. Let me carry on the comparison of Industrial 4.0 and Society 5.0. Just as I said, the Industrial 4.0 is a German concept which is introduced in 2011. Actually, this idea was about building dark factories. It means that the robot will be working on those factories, so you don't need to make the light on. So the in these factories, there will be no human being and all the robots will work. And the Industry 4.0 is mostly focuses on manufacturing and the information and communication technologies. But if you look at the Society 5.0, it's little different than this one and beyond this one, actually. And it is introduced in 2015, 16. But I just want to say that of course, the Industry 4.0 is introduced in 2011 first, but the main idea came up at about 2015, just 1 year before the Society 5.0. But what happened in 2016, Japanese thinks that all the changes with the Industry 4.0 will affect the society in many ways. So they thought that society should be at the center of these kind of developments, and the Society 5.0 is focuses on human being. It integrates the online with the offline, and with the Society 5.0, everything is it's just like in cyberspace. So information or cyberspace with the real world and physical world. Let me just show you this very nice graphs. It shows us, where we came from and where we are going. And actually, the society was a hunting society at the very beginning, the time of the birth of human beings. And then what happened? The agrarian society happened with the development of irrigation techniques and firm establishment of settlement. Then at the end of 18th century, we were in industrial society. What happened at that time? The steam locomotive is invented and mass production started. Now we are in information society. Actually, it's in between information society to super smart society. Just the invention of with the invention of computer, we managed to distribute information easily. But now we are going further of this with the super smart society. We call it Society 5.0. In meanwhile, in industrial part of the system, like the industrial society, mechanization, water power and steam power started, and then mass production, electricity assembly line, computer and automation, and then here we come, the cyber-physical systems. Let me more explanation give some more explanation about the Society 5.0. What's happened in our current society now? Let's have a look at these things first. And we have lots of knowledge and information. We are trying to share it, but still we don't share all the information. And also cross-sector value is very difficult to create. And there is a big problem with the society. One of the most important problems is the aging society and regional depopulation, making a sufficient response difficult. So these kind of constraints exist with respect to social problems. Another thing is that we have a lot of information, but it's very difficult to analyze this information, and sometimes it's very, the time consuming. Another thing is people has to do a large amount of work still, even though we have some, robots in our life, but this is still far beyond, what we want, and people abilities had some limitations, and the behavior of the physical challenge is constrained. So what will happen with the Society 5.0? IoT will connect all people and things, and all sorts of knowledge and information will be shared. It means that totally new value will be born. So we actually see these things because, we can easily share our knowledge using, the online media, social networks, just like, we are doing it. We use YouTube videos, we use Facebook pages, Instagram, or so on. It's not very difficult to share the knowledge and the information now. Another thing is what we expect that social issues will be overcome and humans will be liberated from various types of constraints. And of course, it will be much more easier to analyzing huge amounts of information. So we can deal with big data. After that, the final thing is the possibilities open to humans will expand through the use of robots, automatic driving, and cars. If we think about the healthcare systems, doctors or healthcarers has to work a lot sometimes, and also they are in danger, especially if as pandemic situation. So if we can use robots instead of some healthcarers, our life will be much more easier. I want to share just a few information about big data. Actually, I remember the megabyte and gigabyte in our desktop, and also byte and kilobyte from the hobby electronic devices. And then what happened? We managed to use terabyte and petabyte when we started to use internet. It means that we have just like the two container ships or blankets of Manhattan amount of data. But now with the big data, we are talking about zettabyte and exabyte. It means that we can fill the Pacific Ocean all with the data. Then what is going to happen? We are going to talk about the yottabyte. It means that Earth-sized rice ball. So what are the sources of this big data? We use social networks and mobile phones. We do lots of online purchases. E-commerce is very important in our life, and GPS navigation systems and many of the sensors. So if we look at the big data analytic, we can say we have 3V and 3S. What means that we have volume, velocity, and variety to, talk about the data complexity. What is the volume? We have a very big size of data. Just I have given the examples, and also the sources are coming from very different. The data is coming from very different sources, and the data changes very quickly. So you are sharing some information today, and tomorrow there are many more data is coming up from some other sources. So that's why it's very important. And another thing with the big data is that we call it 6C. We are connecting everything with the cyber-physical systems. Sensors and networks are very important in our life. And we want to customize, personalize all the information, especially for e-commerce things, for example. For the advertisements, if you can personalize the data, you can show the correct advertisements to the people. So another thing, people like to share everything about their life, and it's also very important for community and the collaboration. So meaning and correlation is also important. We call it content and context. And we have to, store this data in cloud. We cannot just, use hard disk drives to, store all this big data. So to computing purposes or storing purposes, we have to use cloud servers. Then another important thing is the cyber world. We are modeling and we are keeping something in the memory and the cloud. So we have to consider about the cyber security. Just have a look at this graph. It's very basic thing about the human in the loop. We don't have to just say only brain and also brain and body. We could say this, but I just put it as brain, what we do is we get, perceptions via sensory nerves from the environment, and then using our motor nerves, we do some actions to the environment. So our brain has lots of capabilities: understanding, planning, learning, decision making, problem solving, and reasoning. But in meanwhile, we have some other things: thoughts, emotions, will, instinct, logic, memory, and we don't know these kind of things stored, where stored, which part of brain. So what takes us to the intelligence? If we have a system which has an ability of problem solving and decision making, and also learning and understanding, we can call these systems as intelligence. And the aim of artificial intelligence is that the things that require intelligence when done by humans are done by machines. And another thing is the modeling behavior patterns in nature and transferring them to machines. But maybe some of you know cybernetics word. Recently, we don't use this word, but before we are talking about the artificial long time ago, cybernetics was the most common words related to artificial intelligence. And I would like to mention about the father of cybernetic science, Ismail Al-Jazari. He lives in 12th century. Actually, his inventions were the first cyber-physical systems, and maybe maybe we can call him as the father of artificial intelligence. Usually, people think that the father of artificial intelligence is Alan Turing. Of course, he has very good inventions, but in other sources, we can say the father of cybernetics in written literature was Ismail Al-Jazari. He has a lot of automatic machines, such as water raising machines, musical robot band. Okay, what are the differences? There are many concepts. We use lots of words, and sometimes people are, misleading, misusing these words. And cyber-physical systems cover all. And actually, intelligent systems cover artificial intelligence, and machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. And artificial neural networks is the most important part of machine learning. Deep learning is the well-known and recently most used artificial neural network algorithms. If we have a look at the cyber-physical system, it's just like, the human-in-the-loop graphs. We have a physical world. There are lots of sensors and actuators in this world. We want to control many things. We want to control cars, we want to control trains, we want to control the manufacturing progress in this physical world. Also, we want to monitor some medical findings. And how we can do it? We have a physical sensing. It goes to the cyberspace, and in the cyberspace, using the communication networks, cloud computing, IoT services, data servers, we do get some decisions and then some actions to control the physical world. I want to show you one of a very simple example of cyber-physical systems from one of my publications. 2 years ago, with my undergraduate students, we designed a motion-controlled virtual reality robotic arm with Kinect camera. Maybe you know that Kinect is a technology developed by Microsoft, and this camera perceives human movements and plays with these movements. So Kinect camera also can track your skeleton. So it makes easy to track your movements. So we use also virtual reality, and it creates the feeling that we are in an environment that we are not actually in. Purpose of our work was to develop a robotic arm that repeats non-sensitive movement of the person using this Kinect camera. our purpose was actually use this system when human health and work accidents are considered. This system is all intended to increase safety and protect human health in dangerous environments, such as the poisonous or radioactivity, and also in the danger of exposure. So besides through the camera, we aim to see the environment in which the robotic arm is placed virtually. So you see there's two different environments. Here in one environment, the person was located wearing VR glasses, and in front of the person we had a Kinect camera which tracking the skeleton and the movements of the person. And in the other environment, there was a robotic arm is located. So what was happening when the person is, raising her hand, or the holding something, and in the other environment, robotic arm was handling this process. And of course, in between these two environments, we have a cyberspace, and we are using the internet connections and mobile phone to control these things. So after this example, I want to show you the evolution of systems towards the digital transformation age. At the beginning, we had some conventional systems, and they only have some very simple control. Then we have some smart systems with an adaptive control. Now we have intelligent systems which can learn from the failure, which can be adapted easily, and that's all. But what will happen in the future? We are going through the intelligence, which is a little bit, the worried, because it's very important. It's like, all the computers can get together and are, making decisions about some work, some tasks. So connected intelligence, ambient intelligence will be very important in our future life. But we don't know where we can go, how far we can go from this place. Today's our subject is little about healthcare. That's why I want to show you, give you my examples on healthcare, not only the manufacturing processes or the other things, robotics part. We are now in artificial narrow intelligence. So it means that it looks like, we have a system, it can only diagnose the brain tumor. But what we want an artificial general intelligence. It means that we ask for a systems which can diagnose all cancer types, not only brain tumor, for example, lung cancer or lymphoma or other type of cancer. So is it enough? No, of course it's not enough. We also want artificial super intelligence. So it's like that all the doctors come together and make consultations on a disease. So medical artificial intelligence has very important things. We want to help people, doctor with diagnosis, especially in the cases where the patient is in a rare or complex condition, or the person diagnosing is inexperienced. And the treatment planning is important. For example, using these sort of systems, you can easily, adjust the blood glucose level, giving enough dose of insulin. So we have a lot of assistive devices. Many of them is the cyberphysical systems. We can use, some robots to assist elderly people, or very ill patients. So medical informatics is also important in this extent, and we can use agents to obtain informations, and we have some virtual assistants, virtual doctors, virtual health carers. But the dealing with health data is not easy, because the data usually is in a huge amount. We have lots of magnetic resonance imaging, computed tomography imaging, electroencephalography, or electrocardiography records and also some patient records. And another thing is sometimes we don't have sufficient data, especially in rare diseases conditions, and sometimes we have inconsistent data because the collection of data is not an easy way, and the different person usually collects the data, and also we can use different devices to collect this data, and there might be inconsistency in this data. And of course, there are also missing data because you are dealing with the patient. So patient is patient. You cannot easily, get information from a patient. You cannot say that, please just stop there. I want to take some data from you. It's not so easy because he's so ill. The patient is so ill. So it's not easy to collect data and dealing with this sort of data. And another problem is when you deal with health data, especially if you use artificial intelligence, we have a problem of explainability. We cannot explain how artificial intelligence decide, this is your disease, how it decides this one. And another important problem is the personal data and the privacy problem. We have to consider data privacy and the privacy preserving algorithms, privacy preserving approach to when we are handling with the personal data. These are very important. I just want to show this nice figure. This is from a project from just had in Northeastern University. It's a kind of human-in-the-loop cyber-physical system. There's human and in one side, and in the other side, a physical environment. It looks like our work. As I showed you, but in this one, we directly, the people directly use the body-brain sensor perception, and it processes these perceptions from using, the wireless and body area networks, using embedded systems and inference engines, and they control many things. And using your brain or some of your body, the body signals, you can control again some robotic parts in a physical environment via sensors and actuators. Of course, this is not only, we cannot only say that we have, exactly some physical parts such as robots. We can also use some intelligent agents. For example, I would like to show you a medical diagnostic system here. We have an environment, and the environment is a hospital, and inside of this hospital, there are patients and hospital staff, maybe the relatives of the patients, and what we can what we have to use, we have to use sensors and actuators to make an intelligent agent for the medical diagnostic purposes. So our sensors can be only keyboards. We can, enter patient systems, patient findings, and patient's response using keyboards to the, the cloud computing systems, or, the cyber system. And then we can only use screenshots, microphones, and haut-parleurs as an actuators about asking questions, requesting some tests, or saying that this is your diagnosis, so your treatment, or your referrals to another hospital maybe. What has to be our performance metrics? All the agents has to have environment, sensor, and actuators, and performance metrics. So performance metrics for this kind of system can be recovered patient, and with a minimum cost, and of course it has to be compliance with the law. So one example about this one, an ontology-based mobile pediatric consultation and monitoring system for acute respiratory infections is a kind of virtual assistant and also medical diagnostic system. And this system has two different parts. One of them is not so automatic, so you can give your, you can give your, the things like, I have a headache, I have a cough, I have sneeze, sore throat, red eye, these sort of things about your child. And then it may ask you to take off your child's clothes and just, they put on the computer, just there's a doctor in the other side, and the doctor just tries to see from the video, and after that, the doctor may say that, okay, you can live in the home or you can go to the hospital. Another thing is, all these kind of things is happening with the ontology-based system using an artificial algorithms. So you are giving all these findings to the system, and there is no real doctor in the other side, and the system make the decision itself. I want to give you a few more examples about the technology. Maybe most of you knows the IBM Watson. It's a technology platform using natural language processing and machine learning. Actually, their claim is that they are more successful than human doctors in cancer diagnosis. But actually, it's not, because cancer diagnosis is not so easy. As I mentioned, because we are only in artificial narrow intelligence time. We are not in artificial general intelligence. So just claiming, we are very successful than the human doctors in all cancer diagnosis, it's just a little, the very ambitious thing. So this claim is not approved yet, but of course it's very successful because they have all the the literature, and they are using natural language processing. It's like you don't have to bring all the doctors together for a consultation. It easily reads many of the literature about the cancer diagnosis, then try to they understand the patient's findings, then it can decide. But still there are a lot of time to make the good decisions about this. Another good example is the DeepMind Health. This is a little different than the IBM Watson. It's about using medical records to provide faster and better healthcare. Actually, NHS healthcare system in United Kingdom is using this system. It's a deep learning platform, important platform, and you are only using the medical records to easily handling with the medical data, especially with the financial data, of course, not only the medical data, and the patient's finance, and also the governmental financial issues. It's important for these sort of things. So there are some examples of cyber-physical systems using in healthcare systems. RIBA is one of them. It's a robot for interactive body assistance. You can see that there are very sympathetic way, and the Compa is another one. It's a plain spoken personal assistant for grandma. The one of them is carrying the person, which is difficult for the the human being. You cannot carry some person because he or she is very heavy. It's not so easy, especially if the person is the very ill. It's not so easy to carry this person. And also the personal assistant is important, because usually elderly people or some of the the patient with Alzheimer, those people can forget when they get your the drugs, or when they have to eat or drink something. So it's very good for reminding something using this kind of personal assistant. And important thing is the surgery devices. For example, we have Da Vinci robots now. It's a kind of surgical robot, and the surgeons sit somewhere else. Surgeon doesn't have to be in front of the patient, and surgeon doesn't have to stand up for long hours of surgery. So the development of sensitive and intelligent robotic surgical instruments enables the patient to return to normal activity just shortly after surgery in cardiac surgery. So it allows us minimally invasive surgery, and it reduces the hospital costs because you don't have to stay in the hospital for a long time, and the recovery time is shortened. So one more, the Cyberphysical system is another robot for interactive sensory engagement and rehabilitation. After a long time, for example, a body trauma, and people usually lose their, the movement ability and some, the muscle functions. So just to bring back to these muscle functions, you can use these sort of robots. Usually there is a mechanical part of these robots, and also with the help of artificial intelligence, people can, understand when they have to stop, when they have to, lift your hand or stand up or sit down, these sort of things. Artificial intelligence is very good at these sort of developments. Personal mobility and manipulation appliances are also important because there are many people with disabilities, so it's important to give some mobilities those people. So that's why cyber physical systems are very important for in this extent. I just want to show another example of little robot. Actually, she's within one of the interactive androids that helps children with autism improve their social and emotional interactions. You don't have to only consider about the recovering. Sometimes especially for the psychiatric diseases or mental problems, it's important to make people to be socialized. So this sort of sympathetic, the robots, especially for the children, they are very important. Make them to social and have their emotional levels. Who will be affected by artificial intelligence and also the cyber physical systems in healthcare? Of course, the patients and the doctors, and researchers has to do more and more work, and doctor and patient solidarity is important for the telemedicine systems. Industry has to be ready for these developments. What awaits the healthcare industry and doctors in the future of CPS? As we have seen that we will see many medical decision support systems in our future life, and wearable technologies, robot technologies, remote patient monitoring, and virtual agents and chatbots in our life. But this will bring some problems, of course, especially in the side of doctors. There will be some technology compliance problem, and another problem is the ethical and legal issues. And the governments has to consider about these ethical and legal issues. So our aim is not to replace and just to help people, and it needs a real interdisciplinary study, not only for healthcare systems, any kind of systems, manufacturing systems, production systems, it doesn't matter. It needs a huge amount of interdisciplinary study, mathematicians, physicians, bioengineers, nanotechnologies engineers, electronics engineers, mechanical engineers, civil engineers, and the computer science, of course, data scientists, doctors. Everybody has to work together. So I want to show these little caricatures. So one of them is from 1956 and the other is from 2017. They are very similar to each other, and the human is sitting down and the robot gives money. So we are dreaming and still dreaming. We have to keep dreaming. It's very good. If you keep dreaming, you can develop many important things. Thank you very much for having me here. If you have any questions, I would like to get the questions.
Thank you, Professor, for that really enlightening keynote. Now, we are all interested in our data that's being used all over the place. Now, I know, yes, we like to share our data everywhere, but when it comes to personal data, suddenly we're very aware,
Yes.
oh, you can't use this, you can't use that. So in Malaysia, we have what's known as Personal Data Protection Act. So this is pretty much related to how big data uses our personal data for certain application. So just to refer to one of the comments posted in the comment box, there is a question from Jerry Chong. He has asked here about ethical and privacy issues related to cyber-physical systems. So you can refer to the comment box. So these ethical and privacy issues are leading towards security vulnerabilities. So, Professor, what do you think? What efforts are there to curb these issues?
Actually, now recently, even in Turkey, we are trying to use, we are working with the lawyers together because it's important. There are many ethical and privacy issues. So you have to, before, you are using your data, that big amount of data, you have to consider about data privacy and all the privacy issues. So one of our work is differential privacy or federated learning techniques to anonymize this data before the handling with this one. But what else should be done or is just trying to be done in all over the world? There are GDPR issues. Maybe you know that GDPR is very important about the privacy issues. So there are very important restrictions. You cannot easily share your data. You cannot easily use any kind of, especially for the medical data or the social media data. You cannot easily use it if you don't consider GDPR. So GDPR usually wants to take some precautions. So government has to do many things about it, and many people doesn't know anything about privacy. Not in the also all over the world, we are in some data privacy reports in the world, but we know that
It's a bit of a problem.
these laws are just working on that, not only the
Well,
engineers,
Professor,
also
yes.
with the lawyers. Are you okay?
We have lost the professor. We are looking for her. Please be patient. Perhaps while we wait, you can continue posting your comments in the comment box. When the professor's back, we can get to it.
Your video.
I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna end here.
You can say we will connect back in 2 minutes.
We will be back in 2 minutes. Please be patient, and I'm very, very sorry for this inconvenience. Welcome back, Professor. We lost you there for a few minutes.
Now?
Yes, we can hear you, but your...
Okay. I don't know why it's just gone. The internet connection is just gone.
So how?
Is that okay now?
Yes, it's okay now. So we lost a few minutes of what you were speaking earlier. Maybe you can just briefly recap. Just a brief recap on for the question earlier.
Okay, the question was about the ethical and data privacy issues with cyber-physical systems, which is one of the most important questions, maybe. Of course, all the other things are important. It's not easy to, designing a full system, but there are lots of security vulnerabilities. In Turkey, we are working about, the differential privacy and federated learning. Just to easily handle, securely handle this kind of data. And in most countries, there are very restrictions about data sharing and data analyzing. GDPR is very important. I will leave, I will leave, comment here. Okay. GDPR is important because with the GDPR, there are restrictions and it says you to how to use data, but this is not good for us sometimes, for the researchers, because we sometimes want to use data to analyze, make some decisions about, for example, some kind of diseases, but we cannot get the data directly from the hospital. You have to get, the ethics approval from the ethical boards. You have to do it if you want to work on data privacy, or if you want to work on medical data or social networks data. You have to get permissions from the people. If you don't get this kind of permissions, if you don't get approval from some ethical board, you cannot work on that. But what governments also are doing now recently, they are working with lawyers, because the law is very important, and you have to consider every cases of sharing. So it's vulnerable, and when we work with the lawyers in Turkey, we are working with lawyers, especially about AI ethics and AI. What's the relationship between the AI and the ethical and law issues? So you have to consider all these things. But as far as I know, in many countries, there are different boards now are established just for this, just to solve these problems.
Thank you, Professor. I totally agree with you on the fact that, during this time of pandemic, right now we're having COVID-19, lots of data have been harvested from hospitals, from healthcare facilities in order to do predictions. So this is in line with one of the questions that we have in the comment box by Manoj Jaya Balan. He has asked here, how the Society 5.0 will assist in healthcare practitioners to tackle future pandemic. Now, let's not take it the wrong way. We are not expecting and hoping and looking forward to the next pandemic, but it is something that we cannot deny may happen. So in the case of that, how do you think Society 5.0 can assist?
Actually, we just started to handling with these sort of things, because as you know that there are some, the tracking devices now. Many countries try to develop to track, the COVID-19 patients using smartphone applications. So cyber-physical systems are already on now, but it will be improved because, for example, people don't want to go to hospital, or even if they go to hospital, the doctors doesn't want to, to get involved with the patient from very near distance. So what will happen in the future? There will be some assistive technologies such as, the assistant robots. They can, they can welcome you just in front of the hospital and get your, the findings and whatever, about yourselves, your symptoms, and then with the minimum, the touching and the minimum from the, the using the actually saving the social distance, these kind of systems will make the decisions. And also in the surgery rooms, or the patient's rooms, the cyber-physical systems will be very important about medical monitoring. Recently, the nurse has to go inside of the, the intensive care units very often, but we don't want it because, especially in the pandemic time, we see that, if the nurse goes to intensive care unit frequently, it's very possible for the nurse to catch the, the disease. So using the assistive technologies and using the wearable technologies, it will be easier to, the saving the, the social distance, at least.
So I suppose the COVID-19 is not all bad. It has actually forced us to face our insecurities when it comes to, the fear of implementing cyber-physical systems. We have it in place, but now we now have a training ground due to COVID-19. So that it's a good thing, I suppose, so that in future, if unfortunately a pandemic hits again, the human race is well
Of
prepared.
course not. Of course not. But I want to just say one more thing about the data privacy about the COVID-19. This was a very, the unexpected case for everyone in the world, and that's why, the people didn't care about the data privacy,
Yes.
and it will be a very big issue in the future, probably, because there are many, the patient data, or, the location data from the GPS are everywhere now. So, and people are using this. So what's going to happen in the future? Okay, of course, it's good if you just use it for the, the healthcare purposes. It's very good. But you can use this sort of data for some other strategical things of the countries. So
right now, people are really distracted with COVID-19, so they've forgotten how much of data is all over the place, how much data they've given out. So once the COVID-19 dies out, they will be reminded of the data they gave out, and perhaps, Professor, then you have your work cut out for you.
That will be very late. That will be very late. When they remind it, it will be very late.
Thank you. So now there's another question here about how gathering data and AI algorithm takes time and plenty of effort. So this may not be feasible for small to medium businesses and in implementing it to their companies. So what do you think, Professor? Do you think that these methods will be accessible to these companies, or will it be only accessible to large and governmental owned companies?
No, with COVID-19 data, it's accessible to everyone, mostly. But let's leave the COVID-19 data and general, the AI algorithms and the other problems in cyber-physical systems and data sharing. So you are right, and Google is very, lucky about this, or Facebook is very lucky about this. They are, collecting many of the data. But the thing is, Now recently, especially with some sort of, the regulations, small businesses are also can reach this sort of data, but it's not so easy. And what will happen? Maybe small businesses sometimes will focus on different data. If I give some examples from healthcare, there are many different diseases and nobody is working on this. You don't have to work on, what everybody is working on. You can work on some rare diseases, you can work on some, your local hospital's data. It's okay, but I agree with you. It's not easy for small businesses to get or collect this sort of data, especially because of the ethical issues. It's not so easy. I am hoping that with the data privacy regulations and every small or big businesses, I'm not talking about the big ones, small businesses can make this. Just we are hoping that.
The small businesses are always
but the thing is, the anonymizing process. There are some data anonymizing processes, and if the small businesses use this sort of anonymized data, they can make their business. But the problem is collecting the data. It's another business actually. At the moment, if you are talking about the big data, you need a huge amount of data, so you need to, it's time consuming. But with Society 5.0, it will be much more easier than this one because you don't have to collect this data by hand, and some intelligent systems will collect those data for you. So it will be easier, but still we have time for that.
Thank you so much. I'm sure that in the season of these pandemics, you are a blessing to us, Professor. You will definitely, I hope that in future, if this ever happens again, the cyber-physical system will be updated and it can aid in any future pandemics, should there be any. And if possible, small to medium businesses have come up to speed with the technologies, and so that they'll be able to access these data, these technologies. So we have actually come to the end of our session. We have very, very fortunate to have had you for the past 2 hours or so. And for any of the other questions that are in the live comments, perhaps Professor Chule, if you have the time, you can have a look at it and respond to it at your convenience.
I think I have seen one comment here, and asking that does we already have such kind of medical data available for analysis? Yes, of course, especially if you use Kaggle or UCI, University of California Institute, California, there are a lot of medical data available. If you just, search for the internet, you can find it, especially in Kaggle. You can find a lot of data. If you are just starting, do something, especially if you are a student, it's easy to find a lot of data.
Thank you. So we have come to the end of the session. Thank you, Professor Chule, for spending your time and your expertise with us. And for the viewers, thank you for joining us. Thank you for staying throughout the session. And I'd like to just tell you about a feedback form link that has been posted in the comment box. So if you could kindly head on over there, fill up the form, and it will be good for our improvement. Thank you so much. I will be seeing you hopefully in the next edition of GCMT next year.
Hope to see you. Thank you for having me here. It was very nice. Thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.